The Collegiate Wrestling Duals just ended, and they added a lot of flavor to what's to come in the rest of the season. In case you missed it, NC State ended up winning the red pool, while Penn State won the blue pool. And while that was what I predicted to happen, let me tell you what, there were some insane upsets along the way. I mean, just day one, Flow Wrestling put out this tweet of the biggest results, but I'm going to be talking to you about some of the biggest results that I thought, some shocking things that happened and could have major results on the rest of the season. And we're going to start out with day one because, oh my goodness, this was insane. By the way, if you're interested in the results, those are all ticking along the bottom of the screen. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is Northern Iowa defeating, not Lock Haven, that's not the big one, but Ohio State. Not something that I even remotely thought was capable of happening. I'll just say it. I was underestimating Northern Iowa. And these are the full box scores here, but what happened here is there was nothing really crazy in these first three bouts. In fact, Ohio State won 2 of the 3 of them, but where things got insane was at 149 pounds. And as you may have seen, yes, Colin Realbuto defeated Sammy Sasso by a 9-7 score. So what exactly happened here? This match was absolutely wild. First of all, this is an upset. Colin Realbuto is number 25 ranked by Intermat, Sasso number 3. Now, in the first period, Sasso earned a takedown in that first period and almost actually got backs on a couple different occasions. I thought he was going to get some backs on Realbuto, but didn't end up scoring that. Realbuto earned an escape of his own to get on the scoreboard, but then in the second period, he was on top. And he was riding Sasso tough. I mean, he was absolutely he was riding him hard. There's no other way to say it. But what was happening then is he ended up earning back points on Sasso, took him over to his back, got back points, and went up big. He was up 6-2 with that escape, 6-1, and then ended up Sasso earned an escape in the third period to make that score pretty darn close. But Sasso was going to have to start working back there after getting ridden out in the second period, which you typically don't see happen to Sasso that often. So like I said, score was 6-2, and Sasso just started working back slowly but surely, getting takedown after takedown, and it was going to be tough to work back from that situation, and he just ultimately needed more time, was not able to get the final takedown that he needed, and Realbuto ended up scoring that upset over Sammy Sasso, an insane upset at 149 pounds. And like I said, not expected to happen, but really, when we talk about 149, there isn't a lot that we did expect to happen with the crazy upsets this year. Sammy Sasso lost that match 9-7, and really, in the rest of that duel, there weren't a ton of crazy upsets. Keckeisen earned a good win against Caleb Romero. Tyrell Gordon ended up earning the victory against Orndorff that ultimately got them to beat Ohio State. I'll be talking about this big 300 wins in just a second here, but it was 19-13 was that final score when Gordon beat Orndorff and gave Northern Iowa the victory over Ohio State. And as I pull up that 300 dual meet win victory for Tom Ryan, congratulations on that, as they ultimately did end up placing in the collegiate duels, but just didn't make it to the finals. But still, 300 collegiate dual wins for Tom Ryan is darn impressive. And that moves us to the other side, which a crazy 149 pounds bout with Iowa State and Cornell. This was a number 14 Cornell and number 7 Iowa State. So yes, Iowa State did end up getting that victory, so it wasn't like an upset, but it was a darn good match from top to bottom. And I'll talk about those bottoms in a second, because things got crazy. Stuff you do not typically see in college duels. That final score was 18-13, but what happened here is it started out mostly, honestly, in Cornell's favor. They had a couple good bouts, but it got nuts at 149 pounds whenever Paniro Johnson and Yianni Diakomahalis went at it. And you could tell, I think, that Yianni wasn't necessarily giving Paniro a much respect, but he knew he was going to be in for a battle against Paniro with all of his incredible wins so far this season, coming into the collegiate duels undefeated, which Yianni could not say. Now, at this point, the top 15 guys, I think, at 149 pounds have a loss on the resume, which, ooh, that is just insane for how this weight class is. So let's look at this bout and what exactly happened here. It was a scoreless first period. I think they were both kind of just filling each other out, seeing how it was going to go. Paniro, you could tell, was coming in hot and heavy. But in the second period, Yianni earned an instant escape and avoided a quick takedown from Paniro. And let me just say that Yianni Diakomahalis is so darn flexible. It is wild. I just cannot stress how flexible Yianni is on these splits that he has. Anyways, we get into the third period, and Paniro earns an escape, tying the match 1-1. And by the end of that third period, Paniro actually had Yianni dead to rights, and I don't know how he didn't take Yianni down. Well, I do know, because Yanni's just he's a freak. He's so darn good at wrestling, so darn good at his defense. Like I said, with his splits, he's insane. That took it to the sudden victory period. Whenever Yianni was able to earn that takedown on Paniro Johnson, and off of he actually scored a reattack off of Paniro's shot, got the victory, and he went wild, like super excited, super hyped up. And not like I love seeing Yianni get this hyped up. You usually don't see it until like it's a huge national finals match, but you could tell by the end of this match that he wanted this win. He wanted to show that he was the better wrestler over Paniro, and it got chippy throughout the match, I'll say that. So this will not be the last time we see these two wrestling, because this 149 pounds weight is just insane, just absolutely insane. And that actually brings us to the rest of what happened at 140 or at the Cornell and Iowa State duel, because things started going Iowa State's way with Kreiser winning and Carr winning, and then Foca ended up battling back for Cornell, got a major decision, put him back on the board, and it was a darn close dual meet. And that's when Iowa State actually decided to pull a crazy thing, something we don't see in college wrestling typically. And they bumped Joel Devine up from 74 to 84, entered him into the lineup. And he ended up getting a victory here, a decision victory. Marcus Coleman ended up getting a decision victory when he bumped up to 197. And finally, Younger Basida, who typically wrestles 197, bumped up to 285 pounds and beat Luis Fernandez, who is a top 15 ranked wrestler at heavyweight, earned a takedown on him and won the match for Cornell, beating them 18-13, sending Iowa State into the finals of the Collegiate Wrestling Duals. This was a wild duel. I can't stress enough like just how legit Iowa State is. And yeah, they were legit against Penn State too, as they faced them in the finals. There were some other big, dual meets and matches from the event, such as Bernie Truout 197 defeating Michael Beard by decision, and then Trumbull of NC State ended up beating Truout, pinned him actually, of Cal Poly at 197 as well. Those were a couple of just big other matches I wanted to mention before we get into the next big one, because I have two more crazy ones that happened. And the next big one here is NC State and Northern Iowa. Now, the dual meet itself, to be honest, wasn't actually that exciting. It wasn't really that great of a dual meet, but there was one match in particular that stood out, because yes, NC State won that 27-12, but the match that stood out to me, and you probably know what I'm going to say, is the Keckeisen and Hidlay match, because not only did Parker Keckeisen of Northern Iowa at 184 beat Trent Hidlay, but he ended up pinning him, as you see here in the clip posted from Cody Goodwin on Twitter, and going wild. Now, this isn't the first time that these two have wrestled. In fact, they are two of the top 3 ranked wrestlers at the weight, and yeah, there was another match at 184 that went not the way you thought it was going to. I'll get to that in a second. But Keckeisen and Hidlay, they wrestled a couple weeks ago at the Cliff Keen Las Vegas Invitational, where Hidlay won that. They wrestled last year at NCAA's in the placing rounds when Keckeisen won that. So this is a back and forth battle between these two with different results every single time that they've wrestled. And you see here, this is a great shot of the pin posted by Northern Iowa Wrestling. And you see just the teammates going insane on the bench there. I love seeing stuff like that. I'm a big supporter of Trent Hidlay, so didn't necessarily love seeing him get pinned, but impressive win by Keckeisen nonetheless. Now, like I said, it wasn't an insane victory, and these were some of the box scores here. You see NC State won pretty handedly throughout this dual meet. So that actually is going to bring us to what is the last crazy event of the night, because NC State was the red pool champion, and the blue pool champion was, of course, Penn State, but it wasn't that easy for them. And you see, one of the crazy things here is 184 pounds. Things were mostly going Penn State's way. Yeah, there were some good matches before the 184 pounds bout, such as Van Ness wrestling Paniro Johnson. Paniro Johnson got that win. Facundo just barely losing to David Carr, but Carr proving his, dominance, I guess, at the weight at 165, but we got wild at 184 when I did not expect this to happen. Now, I know that Marcus Coleman is a tough wrestler, but did I think he was tough enough to beat Aaron Brooks? I would say no before this, but I am proven wrong yet again, which is totally fine because this was nuts, and Aaron Brooks did almost get pinned. I mean, I honestly thought he was stuck here. So he took this, like I said, craziest match. Now, these two have never wrestled before, which made the match that much more exciting. And things look fine for Brooks up to like the first period in the match, but but in the second period, Coleman caught Aaron Brooks off on Aaron Brooks shot in. Coleman caught him, rolled him through, got elevated. This is the situation right here, rolled him through, got Aaron Brooks onto his back where I thought he was just about to get pinned, but ended up getting back points in the second period to go up on Aaron Brooks. I believe he was up, 6-2 at this point, and Aaron Brooks was going to have to start working back if he wanted to get back in this match and not lose his number one ranked spot. And he started battling back in the third period, got a takedown, but then got a little bit sloppy as he was probably just thrown off by what exactly happened there. Coleman ended up capitalizing on that, scored a takedown of his own, ended up escaping, and the match was still within distance for Brooks to come back. Brooks got another takedown, but with about 15 seconds left on the clock, Coleman was just holding out strong, holding off that base, and Aaron Brooks was not able to turn him over at the end of the period, not able to get another back point or another point, and because of that, Marcus Coleman ended up winning that match 9-7. Again, this is not a match that I thought was going to happen. Aaron Brooks is likely going to lose that number one spot. I don't know. We see the ranker's a little bit crazy this year. We'll see if he actually does lose that number one spot. I mean, he should. He lost. Coleman, I don't know. Things are just crazy this year. And as I'm sure you have seen yourself, that things are nuts at 149 and at 184. Am I worried by any of these losses? No, definitely not. Guys like this have taken losses before. Remember, Aaron Brooks lost last year to Miles Amin before in the season. Now, I think what this means is that the young guys, and Coleman's not even that young, but the other guys in these weight classes are ready to go. They're not taking crap from any of these top guys, and they're coming to wrestle this year. Now, what ended up happening, Penn State won the duel 22-12, and I'll say that is a little bit misleading because the Iowa State ended up giving up a forfeit at heavyweight, and going into the 197-pound bout, that was actually within a tight score where Iowa State could have ended up winning that. And this is without some of their guys with an injured heavyweight and with Swiderski not even wrestling. I don't know if that would have swayed results, but it would have at least made the duel even closer. And I'll tell you what, Iowa State is legit this year, and you got to give them credit. Now, what ended up happening with the rest of this event? Well, in the red pool, the final finish here was NC State in first place, Northern Iowa in second, then Ohio State, Lehigh, Cal Poly, and Lock Haven finished in the top six. And that moves us to the blue pool, which was Penn State winning the blue pool, Iowa State, Cornell, North Carolina, Oregon State, and Central Michigan, the final placements. Now, recently I just did a video breaking down the Iowa and UFC partnership. If you want to check out that wrestling headline video right here.